Now I have to pretend like we're not live.
This is our weekly call. On my side, the three things that I want to dive into is review what was shipped, prioritize the feedback that we got with musicians during our testing this week, and talk about what we want to be getting done next week.
Down.
On your side, anything you want to add before we start going in?
No, that sounds perfect.
Okay. I'll get started by sharing linear so we can review what was done. Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this should be the last week. I thought I had already deleted it. It looks like there were some things that I did not. So we'll start on the 7th. Autopilot mode got started. We wrapped up all the feedback from last week, including adding a logout button and a couple other details. Wrapped funnel has been completed, and we're now getting feedback and actively demoing that with others. And I started out the agent kit launchpad, and we've got that in a state where you should be able to. I actually don't know if I've tried it yet on the deployed version, but it should work deployed calling the API endpoint. And over this weekend, I'll build it out into a prototype, make a video, and start getting that going. So going back to the weekly goals that I have written down, this week we wanted to submit for the grants for Agent Kit. We finished that on Tuesday. We wanted a user profile, a universal profile lookup, like Tavaly, which is what you just shared over to production. In my opinion, it's working quite better than expected. We wanted a wrapped report to be able to put in any social media handle, and then we scrape TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. That is live. We wanted to do a chain of thought so that we have an autopilot tab and we start to put in those live messages. That should be live. It's been shipped. I have not reviewed it yet. And then we wanted to have 3 different sets of feature requests from demos from this week. And we've got Silk, Keys, Miss Shay, and I think you just sent me another person. So I've got this week's goals scratched off. And then going into our monthly goals, we want the musicians that are using this app to onboard their friends. We want this tool to be such that I'm using it on a daily basis for my own needs, and also get the autopilot and home page dashboard done. Zooming back in on this week, does that list of requirements or goals sound right? And how did you feel about how we shipped?
It sounds right. I think we shipped awesome this week. I think the user feedback has been a huge unlock. So I'm excited to keep this momentum going. I think we have a lot of great momentum. I had at least one call with a user every day this week and got a lot of great feedback. Also saw a lot of great little bugs that we can tweak. So yeah, I'm excited. I had a great call right before this one with Chris, who is like a AI music. I think his handle is like AI preneur, and he focuses on AI music. And his biggest audience is LinkedIn. But yeah, he has like a course, and he's like doing like the same kind of funnel, like digital marketing, content to newsletter to course funnel that a lot of these, music marketers are using. But the difference with him was like he's way more versed in like AI, and so his entire course is based on how musicians can use prompts in ChatGPT for their music career. So he has 1,000 prompts already written that musicians can use. So I was like, yo, I'm going to give you a bunch of tokens for Recoup. Go use it. Go break it. Let's set up a call next week so that we can figure out how to make it better. And the coolest part was he ran it. I mean, I'll send you the video and stuff, but he ran it, and then like he took one of his prompts and then threw it into the chat to see like, and kind of like in his head did an A/B comparison of Recoup versus ChatGPT. and was like, and gave me like the back and forth of like, all right, cool, like this is dope, but like ChatGPT is a little better with like formatting of Markdown and making it easier to read for the musician. But it gave the same feedback of like it gave a good output of from his prompt, which was like, I have a song coming out called X. I'm an artist called Y. My brand is Z. Write me 20 hooks that I can use for social media content, and then give me scripts that go along with it. And like it was like that was the general idea. It was a much longer, more well-written prompt, but the output was literally like so good of what he got out of his output of that prompt. So I think like working with him to add the prompts that he already has into us would be fire. Oh, we got a GMs.
We got a GM from Gonzalo on Twitter. How do these calls help us reach the goals that we've set? You've just done the first week of goals in 2025, first week of meetings, the first time we've been showing the Recoup product publicly. How do you feel knowing the goals that we're shooting for as a company and as a product? How are these goals how are these calls helping us get closer to those goals?
So two ways. I think that the first thing is it's allowing us to see directly where the product is confusing, or the UI can be better, or where there's little bugs that are then stopping users from feeling comfortable sharing it with their friends, right? Because if you run something and there's a little bug and you get confused, then you're not going to want to share it, because you're unsure of the value. Will my friend also have that bug that I just experienced? So I think getting rid of all of like the little tiny bugs here and there is a huge uptick. And then also, once we get everybody that I spoke to has a community of artists and music marketers around them, and they're looking towards these influencers to help guide them. And so if we can get the influencers to feel comfortable sharing the value of Recoup, it's like it achieves what we set out for, with like have a user tell their friends, except these influencers have thousands of friends that they can tell, that trust them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like it's just like a more scalable approach to getting a product-led growth at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
How about you? How is it helping? Like, are the videos that I'm sharing helping you in building?
We're getting users on the platform. It's getting people to use it. It's spinning the flywheel. I think this is perfect top of funnel for what we need to be doing, kicking the tires, seeing how it works at scale. You and I have been the only people that have been testing it, and opening it up to other people allows us to see people who don't use it in the same way that you and I do and don't think the same way you and I do. And just having access to that energy is incredible for filling in the backlog. And so now I think we're going to get into a place where it's going to seem like a simple request, but it might actually be bigger. And so as these requests start coming in, prioritizing them and just being okay with some of them falling off, I think it needs to be an okay place for us to be in, rather than expecting every single thing that gets brought up during these calls to get addressed. Appreciating all the input that we have, making note of it, and then from a more still place, picking like, okay, these are 2 or 3 things off of that list. Let's focus on those, ditch the other 80%. If they come back, let's add it to the list and go through the same exercise to take advantage of the massive amount of calls that you're doing without drawing our engineering team thin by trying to focus consistently just on those without pushing forward our internal like authentic vision of where we want to go outside of. I think a balance of both is important, but I think these calls are really important for the top of funnel for what we're building. In terms of these calls, do you want to jump into prioritizing the feedback that we've already written and start talking about which feedback you found most important out of this week's calls?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back to sharing screen. I have not added you said that there was one or a couple more calls that you've just done.
I did one this morning, and I haven't exported the video yet, so I'll do that after this.
Okay, so the first one was keys. And keys, we've already fixed a couple of them. There was changing artist of the HTML header. He was showing you all the artists that he'd created, and then he tried to switch artists and then generate a report on a segment click. And when he clicked the segment, it showed city limits image when it should have shown a different artist. We have fixed that so that as you're switching artists and then you jump to a new artist and generate a segment report, it won't add, it'll show the correct image to just reduce that mental friction. And then duplicate artists, we shipped a fix for that. We'll still need to test if it's correct. I think this is going to be an important point managing our backend moving forward, is just how do we represent an artist in our backend? Is the artist the same across all platforms? Is the artist the same if you have Beyonce and your musicians? Is it the same as the Beyonce that I have in my musicians? Should we be sharing data across those? Should they be unique instances? And I think right now, we're still trying to not make it too big of a priority to drastically redesign it. But these little moments of bugs, just kind of speaking through the thoughts, I think this will continue to pile up until it gets to a bigger issue where we actually make a bigger architectural decision on how we represent artists in Recoup.
Agreed.
The remaining things, we need an email template generation. Keys had asked for, he said he was trying to use Recoup to generate emails. And that was failing for him. So we need that to work. Well, that was his example. I wanted to include example fans. This is for me personally. I want to see example fans, like who actually are the fans that you're pulling out. That's going to help me verify the data, as well as me to know who are people that I can reach out to that are actively engaging, and just give me those names. Because I think that the specific names are going to really make the flywheel for me of coming back to use it very tangible. And then the missing responses one is tied to the email template generation. He had asked for that. He saw it there first and then it flashed away. After talking with Jad, the reason for that is Stack, the company we were just on the call with, does not allow special characters. And so all of our HTML reports are using special characters. And if we try to chuck that straight into Stack, it fails. And so we're working around that bug. Anything out of here that we haven't implemented that you want to flag as something that's a priority kind of going into next week or in our next month?
I think we need to really think through the duplicate artists. And like you said, like at what point do we want to rethink the architecture? Or what's the easiest way to keep it as organized as possible, like without over architecting it, you know? My immediate thought was just like create orgs so that the Beyonce in me, if me and you are a part of the same org suites, we share the same artists. So the Beyonce and me and yours org is the same, pulling the same data. But if somebody else has a Beyonce in theirs, it's creating it. You know what I'm saying? It's separate from ours. That was my first initial kind of thought, but I don't know how big that lift is, and I don't know if it's necessary yet because we don't have full orgs. But I will say that I have a meeting next week with Jackie from Warner Records, and in order for her, like this is something we have to think through. Is just like, yeah, if multiple accounts want to share the same artist info, how do we do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going into keys. Oh, I'm sorry, we just did keys. Miss Shay Miz. We've already done the wrapped segment size, and we've already done a brand pitch. So the brand pitch one was Shay Miz wanted to say, how can I best pitch Logic Pro? And before it was telling her how you can tweak Logic Pro tools to get better pitch out of it. And now that tool, if you say, how can I best pitch a brand name? It'll generate that pitch for a musician to be able to pitch brands after they get the segment analysis. So, and the segment size, you had mentioned that it was showing 0 followers, but still showing segments with numbers inside. That should now be fixed such that if there are segments being generated, the number of followers is accurate. The only one that has not been done yet is Shay Miz had asked for suggestions. She's a producer, and so she asked for suggestions on instrumental styles based off of all of the people, the other musicians that are interacting with her on Instagram. We have not done that one yet. That one's a new feature that is just a new tool, just like the email sending that we could do if it's a priority.
I have a question about this, because this goes back to what you were saying about prioritizing requests,
right?
Feature requests. Like, I think the best way to prioritize feature requests is if multiple people ask for the same thing, it becomes more of a priority, obviously, right? If we get, like, bugs are number one or are separate from this because everybody's experiencing the same bugs. But besides that, like, you know, if we have similar requests for the same features, those get priority. And then we have to think about the more specific requests in two ways. One is like, do we build it for everybody, right? Like in this Shay Miz example, is she's a producer, so she has this very specific ask about, here's how I would use it. So do we build the feature she's asking for, or do we build the infrastructure so that the chat has the context of who she is, and then can, so the chat, she's a producer and she's asking for this, but if a songwriter comes in, can we build the feature where it also will work for a songwriter? It'll also work for a music marketer, where it knows who they are, so when they're asking for things, it has the context of, you know, what it's looking to do. So again, but like it also depends on how big the lift is, right? Because like if that is like a much bigger lift, then I would wait until multiple people have the problem of asking for very specific use cases. Like, I'll give you another example, which is the next person still had another specific use case that he asked for, a feature request, which was he's a music marketer. He sometimes reaches out to artists on Instagram to work with them. And so he was like, if there was an agent that could specifically reach out to artists on my behalf and say, hey, I love your stuff. Do you want to get together for a call? Like a lead gen for him. Now, like, will artists use that? Probably not. They're not trying to lead gen. But the same infrastructure could technically work for an artist who's DMing their fans to say, hey, what's up today? You know, it's just two different prompts with the same kind of agent, you know, use case. So
these were both of that artist feedback. I don't think I labeled it as that music. It's Silk was their name.
Yeah.
I don't think I labeled Silk's underneath his own name. I think I just put him under Wrapped Funnel. These were the two things you pointed out, right? Username not found and 0 followers.
Yes.
Okay. I think this one was fixed in the previous one, but I'll leave the ticket there for now. We've got them at least documented. Out of the feedback from this week, are there any that you really want to highlight as this is something important that we want to have fixed, or feature that you want to have implemented from next week out of the calls that we've documented so far?
Nothing specific. Oh no, I'm sorry. The biggest feature that, and I don't know if I don't think it's shipped yet. It's not a feature. It's like a half bug, half feature, I guess. But it's the idea that, like, to continue conversations based off of the context within that conversation started. So if we're in a chat and the context is it generated a report on pet lovers, then that chat has the context of this conversation is about pet lovers. Here's the data that we've gathered about the pet lovers and fans. So the conversation can continue about that. And when somebody said, like again, going back to like when somebody says, well, write me a pitch on pet lovers, that it's based on the context of the above and the report, not based on general LLM knowledge, you know?
Increase the context with the HTML report.
But for all chats, not just HTML reports, just all chats increase the context of what happens above influences the conversation from below it, the memory of the chat.
Copy.
But that was the biggest thing, because like that was what I was finding, like, is going down the steps of the funnel of the demo. Everybody would be like, "Oh, this is dope, 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 dope." But when we get there, that like it became a, all right, cool. What do I do next? Now that I have this information, and then when they would click, write me a pitch or give me 7 content ideas, it would, like, it happened with everybody. It wouldn't follow that context.
I wonder what the ideal experience is for musicians. In SEO bot, you don't have a general chat, but you feel like there's a lot of value. And when you go back, there's a lot of things for you to review, and you feel like it's powered by AI. Right now, we're trying to do a generalized chat. You say the alternative is we start to understand what people want to do and offer them those autocomplete suggestions and focus on those. And if people choose to use the chat, it's there. But leaning into auto suggesting and focusing on our ability to suggest and predict what people want to do next, as opposed to, or versus general text input. I'm curious which human experience path will lead to a more viral experience for musicians that want to automate their campaigns and come to Recoup to do that.
The tab, absolutely. Well, actually, I shouldn't say absolutely. The tab is newer, it's fresher. Everybody's experienced the chatbot, so I definitely think the tab, or the if the suggestions, the prompt suggestions after you generate a report is write me 10 emails, for this, and they click it right now, they click it, and it becomes a chat, which is fine for now. But I agree with you. I think if instead they clicked it and it initiated another agent,
right,
that was now, okay, cool. Now it has my report, and now it's writing my always updating, writing emails for me so that I can approve them and send them out.
And learning who they are and what tasks they like to have taken. For example, if we share 3, like one goes down, if we already know that this artist is a producer, we filtered the options knowing that this musician is a producer. If we don't know, we can position kind of 3 higher level options, and based off of a simple click, start to generate the personality of who this musician is, further filtering the autocomplete options that we're displaying later on.
Yeah. I love that.
So in the short term, we'll work on improving those conversations. I think that is going to be a longer and more challenging long-term goal, as opposed to on HTML create, what are the go-to suggestions we should be showing people that will allow them to continue after getting an HTML report? What would those buttons be if we wanted to give those buttons? Is it write a pitch? Is it generate content? If we can have a list of 10 of those and start to A/B test which ones get clicked on most, we can start to get base level options. And
wait, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Can you pull up the platform and we can like talk through it while actually using it?
Yeah.
Also, TMO, we're not using Eliza. It's our own framework. What?
I think leaving the comments up on screen helps people to know that there's that feedback loop and what platform it's coming from. Encourage people to give us that feedback.
I agree.
So I have an artist already selected right now. So is there a specific way you want me to go through this experience?
Let's just go through a new font, like create a new artist
cool.
and run.
We'll use let's use Gonzalo, because I know that he's a musician. 0x Gonzalo is, I believe, what his name is. So we go to artists, add a new artist name, 0x Gonzalo. Save.
While we do this, do you want me to document all the little tiny bug fixes? Like send you a video, or like, how do you want me to do it? Like a quick little example is like, right now when you add the artist image here, it doesn't save it. Is that something that you want me to, like, should we document that here, or should we just save that for later, little tiny UI bug fixes?
That's a question for you and how you want to prioritize it. We're talking about it now, so you want to keep going and get it documented now?
No, I'll write it down here, and we'll talk about it, or I'll add it to a list.
Okay. Can you also flag new artist created, top right PFP not updated? It's showing Raven's PFP, but it should be showing the default PFP.
Say that again. New artist.
New artist creation, top right PFP, previous selected artist.
All right, got it.
Okay, so now that we've created an artist, we go to the agents and click one, and then the agent gets run. See, it's running it on Raven. So even though I just created a new artist, that's a bug. So we'll go back to artists and try it again. Okay, that time it worked. We've got 0x Gonzalo active.
No, you're still on Raven.
I'm sorry?
You're still on Raven. Look at your recent chats.
I'll refresh.
There we go. Nope. There we go.
Now we've got 0x Gonzalo. Agents wrapped. Okay.
Dope.
It looks like it got Instagram and Twitter for that handle. On Spotify, he's a different name. And on TikTok, I don't know if Gonzalo has a TikTok. What did you want to see running through this?
Once it's done and we click through a segment, the prompt suggestions that it comes up with, could they be turned into the agents that you were talking about instead of new chat or prompt suggestions for the chat window? The prompt suggestions for an agent running an agent.
And I think they're the same. Like I don't know that there's a difference between chat window suggestion and agent suggestion, in my opinion.
But explain.
Whatever it sounds like you're thinking of a different UI component. I think just make these suggestions that trigger agents, and there should not be a difference between an agent is a tool call. In your mind, it's an agent. In reality, it's a tool call. There's no difference between a tool call and a normal chat message. So I don't think there should be a difference in the suggestions.
Well, the difference is
a tool is called and a function is triggered, right?
And it loops
Sure.
is the agent aspect, I would say.
Our current agent doesn't loop, right? It does a thing. Here's your output.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So then in this scenario, okay, I see what you're saying. And so instead of it making a now I'm just thinking about how to I guess really what it is when you click it, it also adds it to the autopilot as on the loop. I don't know, let's see what it is. Oh shit, look at that. We got one.
So we got content from Gonzalo back to December. On some of his bigger days, he had 12. And on his lower days, he only had 1. So it looks, and so we have the heat map now working in all the segments. And you wanted to see what again?
Click one of the segments. Well, actually, no, before we click a segment, ask Recoup a question about like this chat. Like, what are the fan segments we found?
Do you want to write down that specific question so that you know that this is an important question? Because we're right. Okay.
I'm writing it. Yeah, this is good. So this could be like an eval question. Eval after segment. Do we know if it's going or not?
I would guess no.
Okay, cool. So that's another little bug. How do you want me to write that bug?
On analysis complete, chat message, empty screen.
Okay, dope. Can you go back to the analysis or the segments? And then can you click artistic expression advocates? Sweet. Look at that. Right cultural landmark defenders pitch. That's kind of fire. Okay, click that. Right cultural landmark defenders pitch. So and what you're saying basically, Sweets, is all of these suggestions should be tool calls.
Yes.
Got you. Is there any time when they wouldn't need to be a tool call?
If you want people engaging in general chat.
When you say general chat, what do you mean?
Talking to ChatGPT and our UI.
Without the context of the data above?
We could also include the data. Whatever you are imagining is possible if we want to define it out. We just got to define it out. The more clearly and more concretely and more specific the words you are to define, the more likely the output of our work will match your vision. The more generalized it is, like include the context of the chat, the more likely we're going to try. And then after we implement it, you're going to still have feedback because the original definition of the destination was not defined in high resolution.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, I understand now. That's what I wanted to get to is what each suggestion can be a tool call. I get it. I'm 1,000% with you. All right, cool. We can go back to the linear.
So we've reviewed shipments. I don't know that we prioritized any of the musician feedback. I think at that point you took us down to looking at the app. So going back to the question of how do you want to prioritize the musician feedback, or do we move on to planning next week and skip the musician feedback?
I want to ask you what you think we should prioritize with the musician feedback.
I think we implemented bugs. I think their tools are specific and mostly point out other bugs. I don't know that I would do anything other than the bugs.
All right, approved. Let's move on.
So what do we want to do next week? What do we want our goals to be? So far, I've written down out of this conversation, you'd like on HTML report generated, you would like to be able to continue the conversation. I also wrote down suggestion. Neither of those are clearly defined. Would you like to put more definition into that goal that you've already set of on HTML report generation and continuing the conversation? Or do you want to go down a different feature that we could be building as a bigger priority than that?
What do you want to do?
I think autocomplete is way higher return on investment than continuing the conversation personally.
Let's do it.
Let's see how autocomplete looks now. Any other comments after Timo? I have not. He's watching, so he saw that we tried to look at his. If you're able to see those, Sid, would you mind highlighting? I'm not able to see the chat while we're going.
Oh yeah, gotcha. I don't think I can reply, but I can let you know.
Are you able to click on it and it highlights?
No.
Okay. So we have Gonzalo activated. It looks like the current state was the latest tool call at 1:35 p.m. So 4 minutes ago. If you click on it, it opens up a new chat with that report that was generated. And then down here is a log of all of the things that the agent has done regarding Gonzalo with the wrapped analysis, trying to send out that fan segment analysis, and then clicking on the segment with timestamps for each thing that has happened. Over here is the approvals that we don't have any actions in yet, but this was requested by you yesterday for emulating SEO bot.
Let's go, Sweets. This is so fire. I'm so excited. How do you feel?
This is where we'll start to run. I think this is where we start moving things from now on. I think after an HTML report gets generated, HTML reports generated. Right now, we show these up. I think these options will all trigger tools. On click of any of those, I think redirect them back to here where they watch the event process, or maybe even on click of the segment, maybe even taking it a step back. I think now anytime an agent is thinking, we redirect them here and show that train of thought up here in the current state. And so maybe even on things like on segment select, instead of leaving them over, so going back here, when I select a segment, redirect me back to the autopilot, because autopilot's going to continue to run. And then as the segment gets run, show me something like whatever options we want people to take. And this is those suggestions. And I think just kind of leaning away from the general chat, leaning more into, okay, we just generated a new report. Do you want to view the report, download it? Do you want to scrape an email list? I don't know what are the options that we want to suggest, but like have our options here, or general chat and make a general chat button. If that's something I want to, again, recommend that we lean away from general chat and lean into tools that we excel at better than ChatGPT.
I agree. I think, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. I think that this becomes the new home.
Yes.
We call it autopilot, and
right.
it's you know, under agents or above artists, whatever we decide is where it goes. Probably above artists, just because that would make it feel like the home, like the first thing you click on. And this basically peeks into all the agents that this artist has running and what they're doing, and any approvals or denials or changes that need to be made are all here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you run to, I also imagine like we should probably think about how to start integrating loops into the process, so this is always running.
Yeah, that's what I just finished with Agent Kit demo.
Yeah.
So if you come over here, let me see if I'm still SSH10. Looks like I'm not. How are we on time? We're still fine. We go over here. Agent Kit, copy the password. So it looks like something crashed. Let me see if I can restart it real quick.
Gonzalo, jump to Recoup and create an account, and then let me know when you're done, and we can have a deep dive, and I can jump on with you and walk you through the process.
Okay, so we'll restart. cd agent kit, run the command. So it should be running now. Okay, it's showing, I didn't add in the new private keys. Let me add, that's why it was failing. That makes sense. Let me update the environment variables. Is that okay that I'm still going on this path?
Yes, please go.
I wish I could comment too, so I could take care of comments while you do.
You could go over to, oh, you mean from the main admin? Let me check that real quick to see if I can invite you as admins. Let me stop sharing briefly. Stop sharing screen. We've got you. Can I give you permissions? Edit name. I can remove you as guest and I can flip you off. But can I make you an admin? Okay, I'm not seeing it immediately, so I'm going to keep moving on.
All right, yeah, keep on.
I'm looking for the environment variables. Found them. I just need these two. Command X, save it. Okay, let's try it again. I'll go back to sharing screen. Is the screen sharing looking okay when you're looking at the main stream manager? Whoops. Did you see that?
Nope.
You started seeing here?
No, I saw that for a second, but I think.
Okay, so I'll need to make sure, thank you for flagging. I'll need to make sure I delete those keys. Dang it. Note to self to delete them.
I'll put it in the bug thing.
Downside of building in public. What's going on? App crashed. You're not. Oh, I need to source.env. Oh, you didn't. Command not found source. I'm going to stop this because I'm now starting to share things that I shouldn't be, and I'm not making progress. So let's move on.
What were you going to do? You were gonna.
I was going to share AgentKit and the fact that AgentKit one-click now works. It works locally at least, but it's not working deployed. So let's go back to the goal. We have another 14 minutes. Goals for next week. On HTML report, we need to continue the conversation and we need to have suggestions. And then after that, the second priority is autopilot is home. Make it so that when an agent is running, redirect them back to home and show them that autopilot chain of thought. When a segment's selected, take them back over there. Any actions, instead of showing it down below in the chat, show them as actions on the right. And those are the two focuses for next week. What are additional things you would like to focus on, or what are more resolution you want to add to the existing things, if this is enough?
I do not think that when a segment is selected, it should open up the autopilot. I think when a segment is selected, it should show the report like it does now and start a new chat. But I think it should also add that to the autopilot, right? Which it does right now, right?
Correct. It does that right now.
Doesn't bring them there. I think that when they click one of the suggestion prompts, that's when instead of it when they click the suggestion prompt, that's when it opens up the autopilot, or it says added to autopilot, and it brings them there so they know that it's happening. Because when they click a segment, they're going to want to see the segment,
Okay, we'll keep it the same. It's a lower lift on our side anyways. On suggestion, click redirect to autopilot.
And then add. Well, I guess we'd have to build that agent out, right? Or that tool call.
Correct.
Let me ask you a question. Should we limit the suggestions to the tool calls we currently have so that everything works?
Yes.
Let's do that. I like that. Is there anything else do you think we can get more specific on that would help you next week to understand if we're hitting our goals?
No, I don't think so.
Do you feel good about next week's backlog?
There's not a ton of definition right now, but we can start to fill it in next week.
Okay. I'm cool with that. How was the live stream?
Are you able to see the numbers or no? In the top left where it says live?
No, I'm not able to see anything.
I'm showing 123 views. It looks like 122 of them have come so far from X, and 1 came from YouTube.
Nice.
Most of the traffic's from Twitter, and it looks like that's where all of the comments came from. We got 3 different people. It seems like Gonzalo stayed on for at least 30 minutes, or he bounced in and out. Duodo came in to say GM, and Timo is asking more technical questions about why we're not using Eliza. I was at an AI meetup last night here in Buenos Aires, and people from AI16Z were talking about Eliza. And they were talking like there's 20 plugins. I don't know if it was per day or per week, but whichever number it is, there's a lot of new plugins that are being built for Eliza. And I've been I think the value we get out of AgentKit is the brand association with Base, and they don't have the same developers building on AgentKit like they do on Eliza. And so when we post publicly about building on AgentKit, we get marketing and visibility support from Base, which is helpful for us as a startup. In addition to that, I think Eliza has the best developer community and the best and most robust set of out-of-the-box agent. And so after last night's meeting, I've been starting to think through how to make what the AI is that we're spinning up for people a mix of AgentKit with Eliza.
Yes.
Because AgentKit is, and what is the difference? AgentKit then becomes the spinning up of wallets. Instead of hard coding a seed phrase like you would inside of Eliza, use Eliza. If there's not an AgentKit plugin, build the AgentKit plugin. That way we keep focusing on promoting that it is built on AgentKit, but we also can get all those plugins that in constant development that Eliza is getting. Does that sound like you're okay with that?
I'm 1,000% aligned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on AgentKit, I'll write down. I'll write it down as Eliza AgentKit plug. Let's quickly check. I haven't looked into Eliza much, so I'll just write it down. AgentKit Eliza plugin. And yeah, over this weekend, I'm going to be shipping a lot with the one-click deploy. I need to fix those bugs that we were just seeing when I was trying to demo it live. And then I need to build out a UI so that when you click a button, it creates a new agent on AgentKit immediately. So hopefully by Monday, there's a video out and we've made progress on that so that we can really start to scale next week. So I think it's okay that we're not super clearly defined because I need to build this prototype out. Do you feel comfortable on what we define for next week?
I do. I do. I have a question though. So I think you've taken the first step of empowering Ziad to ship on his own. And I think that's the right direction to head in so that you have more time, big brain. Yeah, exactly. My question around that is, how can I help, or is there anything else that we can do to empower Ziad to use the platform and find the bugs himself, or me and him jump on and find the bugs together and create I just how do I help you so that you're not spending as much time writing tickets, making sure he's clear, managing him when you could be shipping, and setting it up in a way where just how can I help?
What do you think the answer to that is? Do you have any ideas?
The first idea that I had was, well, I have 2 ideas. One is I can record demo videos of me using the product, and then send it to you and him. And then, I don't know, like the workflow with you guys, like if you have to create the ticket before he starts working on it, like you have to verify or not. Another thing is I can just get on with him and literally together we can use the product. So it's, but again, like the blocker is like us going down a wrong path that has not been approved by you, you know? And so I want to make sure
bugs, I think that makes sense, but bugs seem very okay. All the stuff that you're saying about like PFPs disappearing, it just chuck that in the backlog, give him a video. Even if you don't feel like throwing it in linear, those videos that you've been doing are great. I think, yes, if you just make a video, send it to the me, Jad, and you chat and say, do this thing, and this thing, he will most likely have it shipped within 20. That's probably the fastest way. The blocker right now is probably you tell it to me. I don't think it's important enough to add into linear, and so I don't, and so it doesn't get on Jad's radar. I think the best way is just skip me, send the video directly to Jad, and because right now he's cooking on his own and he doesn't have to spend any time waiting up for me when it's the middle of the night for him. So if we just get, I think he's going to burn through the backlog faster because he's now empowered to work whenever he wants.
All right, cool. So I'll record a video after this, and I'll throw all the little bugs. Is it something where should I also create in Slack tickets, so to speak?
In linear tickets or in Slack?
No, either or. Like what do you think the best input is for Ziad to understand the bugs and execute and solve them? Should I just record a 10-minute long video of me using the product and saying out loud the bugs, and then he'll be able to, from that, write them down himself? Is it something where I should create the video and then put the current and expected text underneath it?
Yes.
Okay.
Do the current and expected, at least at a minimum. So if he doesn't understand the English, he can put it into an AI instead of trying to translate an entire video.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. So video, current, expected. We'll send it to him, tag him. And then what about documenting the bug fixes? Is he going to create a card that then or he can check off when it's done?
No, Jad will not create any cards. If a card's not created, he'll just make a pull request without it. If you want a ticket to get tracked, I recommend you create it yourself. I'm not hearing that you want to create tickets, so just send him it and don't expect it in linear. But if you want it to be tracked, right? Yeah, if you can write the ticket and you want it to be tracked, write the ticket. If you don't care if it's tracked or not and you just want it done, just send it to Jad, whatever is. I don't want to put too much on your shoulders because right now you're not sending things directly to Jad. So I think the smallest next step is send things to Jad.
Okay. All right. We'll start there, and I'll start with small things so that we don't go crazy. Sweet. How was the live stream with or the space with Ed?
There were a lot of people in it. It was a lot of yappers. I mean, it was good to be with Ed. I spoke one time and the space was scheduled for an hour and I was on there for 2, and it was just a lot of me sitting and listening. We didn't go. It was not a very deep space. It was very much like everybody has their hand up, pass it around to someone who has been thinking about that comment for the past 30 minutes and maybe they forgot it by the time it got to them kind of space.
Got it. I'm so excited that people are talking about agents though. This is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about people talking about agents on crypto Twitter, but then when you go to Web 2 and you talk about AI agents, nobody has any fucking clue. Or at least in the music industry. I think out of the 6 calls that I had with music customers, 5 of them didn't really know what an AI agent was or why they should care about it, let alone even use ChatGPT a lot. So I think that's green flags all the way, because crypto Twitter is always early. I'm excited.
We're focused on agents for music. We're still building in the right direction.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the stream so we can start wrapping up.
Cool.